Okay, so this is part 2 of the mutants and inhumans and the difference. As you know, if you've seen the other video, I did a lot of before retconning. That still applies right here. I'm probably going to say it again. So, more or less, if you watched the first video, I told you that the in-home difference is that mutants who have been around since the beginning of time get their powers during puberty, and Inhumans, who have also been around since the beginning of time, got their power through cocooning in a Terrigen mist. Because Apocalypse was the first mutant, but not the first Inhuman. The first Inhuman, for as all I know, and before retconning, had never been tracked down. A lot of people want to say it's Black Bolt, but I don't know because you're never really given a reference on how old the Inhumans actually are. But you do know that they lived in their little world on the bubble before it got moved for quite some time. So they've been around as long as Apocalypse, if not longer than Apocalypse. The problem with Inhumans is really that if you're an Inhuman, you really won't know you're ever an Inhuman until you're hit with the Terrigen Mist. The Terrigen Mist has basically, unless this has been retconned, an instant death property for mutants. So if you're a mutant and you hit with the Terrigen Mist, it's more than likely you're going to die. Which, in a few years ago, Marvel was doing that because they couldn't acquire Fox, so they decided to kill all the mutants off of Earth. So the mutants would still exist, they just couldn't live on Earth. And this was in the 616. I can't say about the multiverse because, like I said, I stopped reading comics back between 2008 and 2011. I was going through some stuff. So, you know, the whole thing is that if you're a mutant, your powers are fed by your emotion, and you can shoot them no matter what kind of powers you have, unless you're like Cypher, aka Doug Ramsey. That's gonna have to get a comeback. Anyway, unless you're like Doug Ramsey, you can only use your powers to cipher words. However, if you're more like other mutants with projectile powers, you can shoot them. I'm really sorry about that. Somebody was trying to call in while I was on the computer. My cell phone is dead and my Facebook is open, so that's what that is. But anyway, to make the long story short, Inhumans, I believe their powers are also driven by emotion, but they really don't have a lot of explanatory stuff, because Lockjaw is a dog, and he teleports. He's like Lila Chindi, Nightcrawler, and a bunch of other teleporters. And the thing with the Marvel Universe, and I hate to say this, but it is the truth, no one really has original powers. There's always someone who's a telepath. There's always someone who's a telekinetic. There's always someone who's a pyrokinetic. They might have a little variation of the power, because as you know, if you're a pyrokinetic and you're like Pyro, you can control fire, but you can't make fire. Where if you're a pyrokinetic like Firestar, you can make and control fire unless you're in the same room with Pyro, who can just take your fire and use it any which way he fits. But Firestar's pyrokinetics has been changed to something else, but she's still a pyrokinetic. She just has it called microwave fusion when she was a new warrior. Don't ask. I don't know why they did that, but she, at the heart of heart, it's Firestar. And Pyro is the Greek name, I think, or the Latin name for fire. So that being said, she's still a pyrokinetic, but her microwave fire is different from fire. Because Pyro, he came with a flamethrower. Because he had to produce a flame to make it grow into a inferno type situation. Where Firestar is born with the ability to do that, she can do that. But a lot of people didn't know that Pyro was a mutant. And Pyro has always been a mutant. He just has the ability to control fire, he just can't make it. So eventually, if he evolves, he may be able to control fire and make fire. But for the moment, unless this has been retconned, Pyro can only control fire. Alright? Now, the thing is, mutants tend to have more battles with more mutants than they do with Inhumans. Until a few years ago with the X-Men versus the Inhumans. Which the Inhumans and the X-Men have a fair amount of odd number of people, because it didn't really say exactly how many X-Men were going to be fighting Inhumans. Whether it was going to be all of the teams in the current continuity, that being X-Force, X-Factor, Excalibur, if Generation X was still in existence, that kind of thing. And it was supposed to cross over, yay, so many comics. I bought the trade, so, that's that. But the whole thing is, Inhumans are another level of mutant ability. Now, the difference also is that mutants were basically born of Earth's natural flow of evolution, where Inhumans were genetic experiments from supposedly the Kree or the Skrull or somebody in outer space did experiments on normal humans and jumped the evolutionary table, which they were like, I guess, mutants before they were mutants. That's the best way I can describe it. That being said, the evolutionary jump between the two has been the deciding factor, which is another reason why the Terrigen Mist probably kills mutants. Now, I don't know for sure outside of Omega level mutants such as Legion or Franklin Richards, who just got on and back off the table, if there has ever been a hybrid who is half mutant, half inhuman. Now, if there is such a character out there, I need to know. And secondly, how would the Terrigen Mist affect this character? Well, we don't know because I don't work for Marvel. But it would be nice to know if they take this into consideration, they could just give me a job and let me be in the Marvel Universe, because that would be awesome. But anyway, the whole fact of the matter is that if you're a mutant, you were born from a parent who had a mutant gene that either lay dormant in them and they never manifest their mutant powers, or it manifested and they figured that, like, if you watch the show The Gifted, Strucker's dad was a mutant and it skipped the generation. It skipped Strucker and it landed in his twins now, or his kids, because the show deviates from the actual Strucker twins from the X-Men. But they're mutants and they were twins. In the TV show, they were not. So, and kind of like North Star and his sister, but I don't know if they're twins, to tell you the truth. But, you have to be in an Alpha Flight fan base for that. But for the humans and the mutants, in the Inhumans, they're all based on human genetics, only mutants were naturally evolving, where Inhumans were basic science experiments for some alien race who just decided, hey, look at these people running around, let's capture a few, fuck them up, and then put them back. And that's pretty much what they did. And they messed with the gene pool, messed them up, and then their kids became the Inhumans, which initially spawned more Inhumans, and each time a stronger batch of Inhumans would be born. Whereas for mutants, it would take some time for them to have stronger batches, except for one mutant who was Apocalypse. And technically he was the very first mutant, but now they're saying that Namor was the first mutant, but for all continuity, Apocalypse was supposed to be the first mutant, his name being Abin Sur, I think, meaning the first one in the Egyptian language, and since the world has found out that, life began in Africa. So congratulations, everybody's black. But anyway, the whole bottom line of that is that mutants, normal mutants, were Earth's process of evolution. Where Inhumans were tampered with, and they probably would have became mutants, but they were tampered with and accelerated, and they became Inhumans. Now, eventually, Inhumans and humans would all wind up spread all over the Earth and the universe and the MCU or whatever. Hasn't really brought in the mutants, but they have brought in into the MCU sort of, but more like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because Daisy and a few other people have been Inhumans. Alright? Now, the thing about that is, they did it a little bit differently on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., except for the cocooning thing. They did that because Coulson got his arm cut off, etc., etc., and that kind of thing kind of happened, alright? And then the following, since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone and my dream job of getting on there and working with Chloe Bennett has just got destroyed, we're going to keep moving now. I had to get it off my chest. The Inhumans have the same level of power, but some of them were elemental powers, because Crystal, she's like an elemental. I want to say Medusa's an elemental, but it's just her hair, and hair is organic because it's attached to an organic life form called a human being. So, she's kind of an elemental too, but Crystal is definitely an elemental. But you also have mutants who are elementals. Because if you think about it, Storm is an elemental, Iceman is an elemental, Pyro is an elemental, because those are earth elements. Fire, water, and Storm can do it all. So, you have elemental mutants as well as elemental humans. And those are those confusing things that you go back into the 70s and 80s and you find out about these things before the retconning. Alright? Now, yeah, I was going to put it in. The whole thing on that is that, the humans that's in the middle, just the regular humans, made it with some of these Inhumans and some of these mutants, which is how you get the evolution of more mutants and more Inhumans. Because some of the Inhumans didn't know they were Inhumans, and then when they have children, the children don't know they're Inhumans until they're hit with the Terrigen Mist. You could be an Inhuman for the majority of your life, and if you never get hit with the Terrigen Mist, you will never become an Inhuman. You will just stay a human. Where if you're a mutant, you don't have to get hit by the Terrigen Mist because one, the shit will kill you, and two, you already have your mutant powers once you hit puberty. Now, if you want to weigh the pros and cons, because I have really bad luck, I'm going with I'd much rather be a mutant than an Inhuman, because it's not like the Terrigen Mist has a time set level of when that shit's just gonna bust open out of the earth and bust people up. Where when you're a mutant, you're born with this shit. The minute you hit puberty, Mom, I don't feel well, laser beam shut out your damn eyes. Or if you're a woman, Mom, I'm having some issues, I need to come talk to you. You go talk to her, you hit your period, and shoot lasers out your hands and shit. So, it's a little bit more fair for women than it is for men, because women hit puberty early, where men don't. And if you're a mutant, your power is already there. It's just laying dormant until you hit puberty. Where if you're an Inhuman, which is totally unfair, because if you're never hit by the Terrigen Mist, you're still Inhuman, you just don't have any powers. Until the Terrigen Mist evolves you, which means your skin's going to cover up in a cocoon, and you're going to crack out of the cocoon, and you're going to be a human with powers. Now, you pick and decide what you would rather be, but I'd rather be a mutant than an Inhuman, because I'll always have my powers. The sad part about being a mutant is if you walk into a field of the Terrigen Mist, it's supposed to kill you. Now, I don't know when that started, but apparently it was a way of getting the X-Men out of the Marvel Universe so that they could kill the book. And then after Marvel was acquired by Disney, and Disney tried to get the things back from Fox, and there was all that big CF right there. But they all fixed all of that now, and so they basically are okay. But for the video continuity of this video, the Terrigen Mist, I don't really know where it originates from. I just know that to be unlocked as an Inhuman, you have to find the Terrigen Mist. Now, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was inside the crystals. Now, I don't know if they incorporated that in the cartoons or if they incorporated that in the comics, but I do know that the Inhumans, you have to have the Terrigen Mist to manifest your powers. Where if you're a mutant, you don't have to do anything but turn 13. Unless you're a girl, you may turn 12, you may have turned 10. The only mutants for sure that have had their superpowers before they ever hit puberty is definitely Franklin Richards, and more than likely Legion. There are a couple of more, but I don't remember who they are. But for sure, Franklin Richards was born with his powers, and his powers manifested before he was 4 years old. By the time he was 4, he was already an Omega level mutant. He even did work with Power Pack, who aren't Inhumans. They aren't mutants. They're just like other experimented on children from some other something or another. I forgot their whole entire origin. I'm gonna have to Google that. But also before the retconning, I actually have Power Pack comics somewhere. But prior to that, if you are a mutant, you are blessed, because by the time you hit 13, man or woman, you're shooting lasers at your hand. Of course, unless you have that weak ass power of Cypher, aka Douglock, aka Doug Ramsey. His power was to basically only speak languages, which is good in the real world because you can go anywhere and speak their language. You can go to China, Japan, Korea, and India, and Russia, and just speak it like you've always known it. That's his mutant powers. That's why his code name was Cypher. Because he could cipher any language at any time. All he'd have to do is hear you speak, and he could understand it like that. I would love to have that, but I want a mutant power with some oomph to it. I want to be able to shoot beams out my hand like Havoc. Or maybe some claws, or maybe some organic steel, or maybe all. Maybe like Franklin Richards, where I can do everything. Because my power is only limited by that of my imagination, henceforth slapstick. Now, for Inhumans on the other hand, I don't want to be Black Bolt because he can't talk. One word, one whisper can crack the earth and possibly fracture the universe. And I want to be Medusa because I love my hair, but I don't want that shit to be coming to life and whipping people around, because if you ever had your hair pull, it really freaking sucks. And if I could be like Daisy Johnson and be like Quake, okay, I can live with that. But the thing about that is I don't want to wait for that cocoon to manifest around me, and I also have exceptionally bad luck with my luck. The closest thing I would come to Terrigen Mist is walking into a field full of cow patties, and there would be no Terrigen Mist. It would just be straight methane stank from cow shit, and nobody wants that. So, with my luck, I would never be able to go anywhere to stumble into a Terrigen Mist, which means I would never ever be able to evolve into an Inhuman. Which means if I get married and have a child, he or she has a 50% chance of becoming an Inhuman when I never got the chance to be one because I never stumbled into a Terrigen Mist field. And it's more than likely they'll probably never stumble into a Terrigen Mist field. You see where I'm going here? Because, you know, there's a 50-50 chance, if you're an Inhuman, that you will have your powers manifest. And that field gets smaller the more you think about your own personal lifestyle. The field gets exceptionally smaller. Where if you're a mutant, or a normal human who's going to become one or the other, you have a 50-50 chance of being a mutant or an Inhuman. But if you're a mutant, there is no 50-50 chance, there is no probability. The second that you hit puberty, maybe a couple of days in, you're going to be able to have your superpowers. So, weighing the pros and cons of that, I'm going more to being a mutant versus being an Inhuman. But the difference also is, you have a 50% chance of having some cool ass powers, no matter which side you're on. But the problem is manifesting your powers as an Inhuman versus already having your powers as a mutant. And I'm not really feeling the Inhuman thing, you know. I don't feel like waiting for a cocoon. I don't feel like walking through some smog and praying that there's some Terrigen Mist in that shit, and I become a superhero or a supervillain. Where if I'm a mutant, I already got my powers. I already know what I'm gonna do the second I get them. So it's a win-lose depending on what you want. If you're an Inhuman, it's a win-lose. If you're a mutant, it's a win-win again, unless you get powers like Cypher, where all you can do is understand people talking. No. That being said, part 2 of the Inhumans and Mutants, or the Mutants and Inhumans, this video has come to a close. If you guys want to do more, you can always go to Marvel.com. You're going to get more detailed information, and most of this stuff is going to be after the retconning. If you want to get more deeper in detail before the retconning, then my best bet would be to tell you to go and check a bunch of Fantastic Four books out, because the Inhumans dealt mostly with the Fantastic Four back in my day, and I really wasn't a big fan of the Fantastic Four unless they crossed over. And Crystal and Johnny Storm, who were in an item, had an arrangement, had like a relationship or whatever, and then Johnny Storm comes to find out that Crystal was not Crystal because she was a Skrull, and Skrulls have like the power to emulate whoever they copy. So if they copy somebody who's a mutant, they have those mutant powers. Alright? Don't ask me how. I'll probably do a video about the Skrulls at some point, at some time. I would probably like to do some research, because before the retconning, the Skrulls could do just about anything except for like one Skrull who had like the baddest powers ever, and that was the Super Skrull, who had all the powers of the Fantastic Four, because he was needed to fight the Fantastic Four. Now, as far as the mutants are concerned, the mutants always have their powers, and the only time that they've ever really lost them is when Comrade Hodge took them away. And that doesn't include all mutants. It's just like the ones on Genosha, the ones he captured specifically because he had a vendetta, which were X-Men. And other mutants, unless you are tired, sleepy, and just haven't rested, or don't know how to manifest or control your powers, or better yet, if you don't know how to control your powers, because they're going to manifest whether you like it or not, because that's what mutant powers do. They manifest out the blue. Cyclops can be the first to tell you that having a bunch of eye blasts shoot out of his eyes on an orphanage was not a good thing. But anyway, in my personal opinion, it's better to be a human and a mutant human than a human and an inhuman. Because if you're a human who becomes an inhuman, there's no telling when it's going to happen. When you're a mutant that was a human, you hit puberty and you become a mutant, you already know you're going to have mutant powers because you're a mutant. Which means you can be a superhero or a supervillain. I'm James Williams Jr. Hope you guys enjoyed this 20 minutes of your life that you can't get back because I have to go to carry my ass to work. Be seeing you.